What's up everyone out there? My name is Cedric from Ceddy Knows Tech, and in today's video we're going to talk about the Apple iPad Pro in particular, and can this device be used to replace your everyday laptop and desktop computer. I believe it was like April 3rd, 2010 when Apple actually introduced the iPad to the world, and it was kind of met with some mixed fanfare. Some individuals thought it was nice and actually saw the potential in it, while others kind of written it off as kind of an oversized iPhone. Now 10 years later, has Apple have done enough to actually transform this device into a device that can be used for your everyday laptop and desktop computer? We'll talk about all that and more in this video, but first, cue my intro. Individuals who are looking to turn their iPads into laptops or computers usually fall into one or two groups. You have the casual users or basic users who use their computers for things like checking email, watching videos on Netflix and YouTube, and doing like everyday tasks, maybe like office work, office documents and so forth. Then you have the other group of more power users who are more into design, maybe coding, and things of that nature. But both groups kind of want to know, can I use this iPad to replace my computer? And to answer that question, the answer is yes, to a certain degree. Let's talk about the basic users first. When I say the words basic users, I'm referring to individuals who use their computers for more basic type tasks, such as office, checking emails, and maybe watching YouTube or Netflix, and maybe social media and things like that. And there have been many reviewers and tech enthusiasts who have used their iPads to kind of prove that an iPad Pro can be used to replace your computer for those instances. There's these iPad only challenges where users will use only their iPad for like a week or a month and come back and kind of give you their experiences. And for the most part, from a basic standpoint, those experiences have been quite good and well received by those individuals who's actually been doing that. So kudos to y'all. Now let's kind of go to the other side of that coin and talk about the more power users, people like myself. I am a software architect that spends my day writing and designing systems and writing code. So can the iPad Pro be used for people like me that actually do more things with their computer than just your standard everyday task? Now, with the introduction of Apple's iPad OS, and in particular the new Magic Keyboard that Apple introduced a few months ago, I found that the iPad Pro began to fill, not replace necessarily, but fill a lot of those things where I can actually use my computer, or my iPad I should say, for those types of things. The iPad does have its technical limitations and the things that it can do. For instance, Apple does not allow third-party users to install operating systems, or I should say third-party operating systems, onto the iPad, such as Mac OS, Windows, or even things like Linux. But there are ways to kind of do this and utilize those desktop operating systems and applications via things like remoting or SSHing into external servers and so forth. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, how I was able to kind of put together a methodology and workflow, I should say, of tools, apps, and just connection methods to allow me from my iPad to connect onto my development servers to code in environments that were performant, low latency, and they just kind of worked. Now the first step into converting your iPad into a more traditional laptop and desktop computer is, of course, you will need a keyboard and mouse. And lucky for us, there are a lot of options for us to do that with third parties such as Logitech and things like that. Apple also produces their own keyboards, like the Apple Smart Keyboard, and the one in particular that I use, which is the Apple Magic Keyboard that was released, I believe like late May or late April, early May. And basically with this keyboard right here, it gives you more a traditional laptop type of setup for your iPad, so that you will have a more or less full keyboard for for your typing and a functional mouse so that you can use applications like the ones I will be showing today. Once you figured out what keyboard and mouse combination that you want to go along with your iPad, the next step in this will be to kind of figure out how do you want to access your remote environments. Because like I said before, Apple doesn't allow you to install these environments locally onto the iPad, so you will have to access them externally. The way that I've done it is over the past few years, I've slowly started to push my development environments into the cloud completely. So what I've done is actually I purchased a a Mac Mini and co-located it to a data center, so I can have access to it remotely to actually do things such as work and code and compile source code and stuff like that. So for me personally, I have co-located a Mac Mini with a provider called Mac Mini Vault. Now, full disclosure, Mac Mini Vault did not pay me, or they're not a sponsor of this video, so all the opinions that I have about them are strictly my own. But I've been working with Mac Mini Vault for the past about 2 or 3 years now, and they're a really good company when it comes to co-location of Macs in particular into the cloud so that you can access them remotely. They're a very technical group of people. They're not script readers, so if you actually have a technical question, I've been able to talk to them at extreme geek levels, and they've come back to me at extreme geek levels with solutions. So I'm just kind of putting it out there so those individuals who may want to use them, they can. Again, they're not a sponsor of this video, but I enjoy using them, and maybe some of my viewers would like to use them also. Now, also to be fair and unbiased, Mac Mini Vault, of course, is not the only game in town when it comes to building these kind of remote environments so that you can utilize your systems remotely. There's things such as AWS, Azure, even DigitalOcean droplets. A lot of users will create droplets with DigitalOcean and access them via SSH to do their coding. This works particularly well with those users who are not necessarily tied to a IDE or text editor, and they are very comfortable with using things like Vim on VI. So they will actually access their DigitalOcean droplets via SSH and will use Vim as a way of editing their source code and running their frameworks and so forth in the cloud that way. And that's perfectly okay, and as long as it works for you. Now, for me in particular, I am not a big Vim person. I want to be, and something I'm actually working towards kind of getting better at is using Vim. But I am in love with Visual Studio Code in particular, so I would like to build an environment where I can access remotely and still utilize things such as Visual Studio Code, some of my database tools, and things of that nature. So what I've done is, one, co-located a Mac Mini with Mac Mini Vault into the cloud so I can access it. And two, I use an application called Jump Desktop. Jump Desktop is available on the Apple App Store and as well as Android. It's in the Android App Store as well. And what it is a program, or I should say app, that allow you to access your various environments from various levels. You can access it using things like RDP, which is remote desktop, which is more of a Windows thing. VNC, which is another connection method that you can use to connect onto the GUIs of your desktop operating systems from other computers, and also SSH. And then they have their own custom protocol called Fluid. This is the reason why I particularly like Jump Desktop. Fluid is an awesome protocol for connecting to your servers, and the reason why it's awesome is that it's very low latency. Well, they create a very low latency connection to your servers, and it actually does a great job of resolving the screen size to your iPad. So if you got, like me, a 12.9-inch iPad, when you connect on through the Fluid protocol to your desktop, it will actually resolve that screen to fit your iPad, which unfortunately is not the story for a lot of other remote providers. They will get you into your program, or I should say into your computer, but the resolution of your screen can either be extreme and everything's itty bitty, or it kind of blows everything out and then all your icons are like 512 by 512, which is foolishness. So Um, Jump Desktop on the App Store is a great program, and is what I use in particular to remote access my environments remotely. So give them a look, and I think you'll be happy with what you see. So again, like I said, these are all kind of my opinions and the way that I use these tools to kind of do what I need to be done. So like I really do like Jump Desktop. There are others. There's no full disclosure. There are others out there that you can use, such as Screens. Microsoft has their own remote desktop application. Of course, that's like I said, that's more of a Windows thing. So if you're trying to connect onto Windows servers, but like I said, I connect onto more Linux boxes and my Mac Mini, which is Mac OS. So I use Jump Desktop exclusively for that with great results. So you know what? Drop all this. Enough talking. Let's take a look at the demo right now. As you can see, this is my iPad right here. Just for those who might be wondering what kind of iPad I have, this is a 2020 iPad Pro, 12.9 inch with a 1 terabyte hard drive and LTE, with LTE. So I hook onto the Verizon network. So basically, this is the 2020 model. The 2018 model is also very close to this model. So if you're trying to save a few bucks, I would say, grab a 2018 model as well, or grab a 20 as well, but grab a 2018 model. The difference between the 2018 and the 2020 were just minor. I was able to get mine for very little money to upgrade, so I just did. But I know there might be a few people that's wondering about the company I use for co-locating my Mac. Like I said, it's Mac Mini Vault. Once again, they're not a sponsor, but I enjoy using them. I'm just kind of relaying that information to you all. Like I said, they are a company of real tech people. They're not call centers, or they're not script readers. They actually, you can ask them some pretty in-depth questions, and they can come back to you with some pretty in-depth solutions and things how to handle that and stuff. But I use them. They give you pretty good stuff. They give you like a 1 gig network port so that you can actually hook onto it. You're actually connected with a 1 gig pipe. And their price is actually pretty good, really good, not pretty good, really good. For $30 a month, you can co-locate your Mac and get, like I said, for $30 a month, 500 gigs of transfer, 1 gig access, 15, megabits sustained. That's not bad. That's just not bad. I use, and just full disclosure, I use their $50 a month package, just because I get the unlimited transfer. Because I do a lot of different things with my Mac Mini in the cloud. I might actually do some like pulling of data and indexing it into stuff like I got maybe some Dockerized Elasticsearch clusters and stuff that I'll be testing some things on. So I do some things like that with no problem at all. Actually, no problem. And I pay a little bit more than this because I actually got a couple. Because you're given an IP address when you sign up with them, and I have I think 2 or 3 other IP addresses that I use for my various sorry about that, for my various connections and things of that nature. So our VMs, not connections, but VMs for my other VMs and so forth. So like I said, you can actually ship yours if you have one. That's kind of what I did. I had a Mac Mini, I believe it was a 2018 model. 2018? Yeah. That I upgraded with 64 gigs of RAM. It had a 1 terabyte drive. I purchased it, got it all ready for them, shipped it to them. No problem. They put it into their data center, and boom, now we're ready to go. You can purchase one from them. You can rent to own one. Basically, what you do is you're purchasing it from them. They'll break that cost up into 12 monthly payments. After you dump the 12 monthly payments, the Mini is yours to keep, or you can keep co-locating it with them. And then so you pay that payment or whatever that 1/12 payment is, and plus whatever you're going to use for your hosting fee and stuff like that. So if you want to use them, let them know Ceddy from Ceddy Knows Tech sent you. Mac Mini Vault, they got my stamp of approval, no problem. Besides that though, a lot of you probably wondering about the Jump Desktop. This is what I want to show you. So on my Mac Mini, I use a program called Jump Desktop to access all my servers. Here are my servers and desktop computers and things that I kind of work on day in, day out. I have a Botic server that we're working on. Me and a couple friends working on a service. This is my iMac right here. This is that Mac Mini I was telling you about. That's my development server in the cloud. And I also have a VM that's connected to that Mac Mini. And like I said, that's here as well. And as you can see, they're all Fluid desktop. That I'm using the Fluid protocol for them. to connect to them, because you'll see how quote unquote fluid it is. So basically, once you set these up, when it's real set, you just kind of literally hit this little icon here, put your host name, put some information there. If you want to connect on through your Fluid connection, through their Fluid connection, you actually go out to the host machine, download, kind of like with any other these kind of desktop applications or hosting applications, you will download a connection program that will act as kind of the server that you connect to, and it'll set everything up for you easy as 1, 2, 3. But we're not here for that. We're here to see some demos. So I'm gonna connect out to my Mac Mini demo here, and it'll connect on. And once it's connected, boom, it comes up, and here it is. It's, as you can see, it's this is how fluid it is. It's nice and fast. One, I got it connected to a fast server, but the way the Fluid protocol works is that it really does reduce the latency between your iPad and your connected server. I live here in Central Florida. This server is actually in Wisconsin. It's in Wisconsin, so there's some distance between me and my server. And yes, I'm on Wi-Fi at the moment, but I've used the same kind of setup with LTE. Some with great bars, all bars, and some I gotta get 2 bars. And for the most part, I've been getting very similar results as far as latency and stuff like that. So one thing I was talking about was the resolution of the screen. Right now, I have it set to a custom resolution. But if you come here, for instance, and come here to your the little settings thing, go to change resolution, you can actually say match iPad display, and if you hit that and hit apply, you will see that what it has done is taken the iPad itself into consideration, and it's in its resolution, and kind of matched your remote resolution with that. So you get a kind of end-to-end full display of your computer, and you still get these real nice fluid kind of connections. And from here, like I can run like Visual Studio, for instance. And as you can see, this is a React Native program that I'm writing right now. No slowdown, not really much lag at all. I'm talking about there's always going to be some kind of inherent lag, and some programs and some connection methods are just kind of worse than others. Fluid is really nice. Things like VNC, I've always had a problem with VNC. It's not that it doesn't work. It works great. It's just that sometimes like you'll move your mouse, and all of a sudden you see the remote mouse kind of move. So it's like your mouse moving, and all behind it, the other mouse move. And it doesn't really make for a very nice remote session. So like you see, the resolution here is nice. I'm getting nice connections. I can connect out to my mail, Safari, for instance, and go things like, I don't know, Engadget. You can see that, if I can type today, there it is right there, Gadget. My son was looking at Paper Mario. So, so anyways, you can see that, I'm doing 2-finger swiping. So remote Jump Desktop has full integration with the Apple Magic Keyboard, for instance. So you got a lot of the gestures that come along with the keyboard and mouse that you would use on your MacBook or your iMac, with like 2-finger scrolling and stuff like that. And it works really nice and so forth like that. So you can see that here. Not much lag at all. Is also the mouse integrates with the remote mouse, so you don't have like 2 mice showing up at the same time and moving all over the place. Another thing that you probably like I was talking about, the resolution. So this is the Fluid resolution. If you want more resolution, you can come here once again, go to the little kind of settings bar, take off match iPad, and then from here you can kind of set your own, width and height and so forth. I always say that. I always think that, for what I want, 1680 by 1050 usually does pretty good. Hit apply. And now, because I still get enough real estate, and now you got a little bit more room for stuff that you want to do. And once again, if I come back to my Visual Studio Code, and this works great. This works great. I never really had a problem working in this environment to this degree. I can actually code and stuff here, run things like terminal, so like ls, things like that, clear and things like that. So I can actually work without much problem, and I like it. I like it a lot. And you can do this with like Windows server. So if I come here to my Windows server, for instance, this is my Windows VM that's actually running on my if I can type. Did I do that right again? Probably not. Yeah, I did. Okay. If I come here, I can this is my Windows desktop, and a lot of time I have a Windows instance of things, so I can connect on to for Visual Studio work. So like for, well, not just Visual Studio work, but more for .NET development. I'm a full stack developer, like I said, I'm a software architect. So I jump in and out of languages, like all the time. I might be running Node.js and 1 second, and literally jump to something like Angular or React, and then jump to C# for if I'm writing an API or something to that, or things like that. So I can run like Visual Studio, and it runs fast, like you just saw. Boom, it's there, and it's just like you sitting in front of your Windows desktop. I just installed that on this server. I just actually stood up this VM not too long ago. But like I can run like WSL2 and things of that nature. So if I want to run, like I'm running the latest Ubuntu here, and boom, once again I can run all my apt-get, or sudo I should say, sudo apt-get update, and boom, I can actually update all my WSL connection, or that connection, but packages, and run all my Linux commands and so forth. I shouldn't have anything update there because I just ran it not too long ago. But just to show you that all this stuff works. So if I want to run WSL2 and things to that nature, I can without any problems and so forth. So if that's the kind of connection that you're looking for, and the ability to work on your iPad from work from your iPad and connect out to your various servers and desktops and stuff like that, this kind of connection might be for you. You don't have to go out there and necessarily co-locate a server. For instance, to kind of do this, like I said, you got AWS. You can rent cheap VMs and instances from AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean, Linode. It's a ton of them out there. And like this is my home server, not my home server, my home iMac. I bought an iMac for my desktop. This is what I do most of my programming on when I'm not away from my desktop. I bought this, kind of kitted it up with 128 gigs of RAM, and stuff like that. So this is what I do 90% of my work on this server here. But if I'm doing something remote, especially if I'm trying to show my client something, I run it here because because I'm remote and got a dedicated IP. I can actually run those packages and run the software like Angular, ng serve the site out to the client and give them that web address so they can actually view it and things like that. So things to that nature. That's the reason why I move most of my development stuff in the cloud. And even when I'm on my desktop here, a lot of times I'm still connecting, whether it be through the Visual Studio Code remote connection and so forth. I connect out to my development environment just because I can. It's nice. It works nice. It keeps all my development stuff in one place, and it's kind of my source of truth of all my code and so forth. Now, of course, I back that code up into repos and stuff to that nature, but I moved my development stuff to the cloud. I know that's not for everybody, but I do know a lot of developers who kind of hooked me to that, and once I got myself hooked onto it, it's been gravy ever since. So after showing you all the cool stuff that I can do with my iPad, with Mac OS on the iPad, and remoting in with Jump Desktop and so forth, kind of going back to the original question of, can the iPad Pro in particular be used to replace your desktop and laptop computers? Sadly, I would have to say, for me at least right now, the answer is still no. I utilize a MacBook Pro and an iMac for most of my development and things of that nature. And while I can use my iPad Pro to do those things as I've shown, the question isn't necessarily can it be done. Is it convenient, or is it worth it to do it. And that's kind of where I kind of draw that line right there, because it's not at the level of my traditional laptops and desktop computer right now. For example, the file system. While the file system for the iPad Pro have gotten better with the update to iPad OS, it's still not at the level of your MacBook OS and things of that nature. My MacBook, and my iMac and things like that. And until there's better pro apps, I should say, for developers for the iPad Pro, while I can jump desktop into another computer and use them, that just seems like a layer of failure if something goes wrong. Whereas with my MacBook, I could just open up Visual Studio and just code. To me, that's a big deterrent for me to switch completely over to a iPad Pro for my development reasons. Now, for users who aren't trying to use their iPad Pros for coding or developing or even designing, like Photoshop. Like, again, there's Photoshop on the iPad, but is it equal to Photoshop on your desktop? The answer is, as of today, no. And I don't think designers, I don't consider myself a designer, I know designers who their bread and butter is with Photoshop, and they're not going to trade that in on a desktop for Photoshop on an iPad. Not full time anyways. It's a good, kind of, if I'm in a crunch, I can do some things, but it's not going to be a full time kind of replacement and so forth. So, and then back to the users who aren't trying to use their iPad Pros for all this kind of pro level work on their iPad. The question is, can they use it? Can they use the iPad for their full-time computers? And surprisingly, there the answer is yes. And it's actually a recommended replacement. And the reason why I say that is because it's an operating system and a system that they're probably really used to with their iPhone. So it kind of just makes sense that when they're used to it on the iPhone, when they look at their iPad, it looks kind of the same, and they can do a lot of the same functionality. So for those users that's using their computers for like Facebook and social media, checking emails, even working with Microsoft documents and stuff like Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, is actually a great replacement. Now, if you are a Office ninja and you're using all the features of Microsoft Office, then okay, there I might say you're an exception to the rule, and you might want to stick to the desktop because all the features that's in the desktop version of Office Suite is not going to be in the mobile version. But if you're just using it for things like editing a document, writing a document, things like that, it's actually a pretty good replacement. No complaints. And so the next question is, my child is distance learning, for instance, because of the pandemic that's going on currently. Can the iPad be used to replace or be used for them for their distance learning tools? And again, surprisingly, the answer is yes, because a lot of distance learning tools are web applications and services that's in the cloud. And with the introduction of iPad OS, Apple actually given us a full-blown desktop-level browser on the iPad. So what does all that mean? It means that you can access these things such as Google Classroom. I just know with my children was like Odyssey and things like that. You can access them as if you were sitting in front of a desktop computer with their desktop browser. So Apple has given, well, not Apple, but Google, for instance, has given us all their tooling, such as their Google Suite, Google Classrooms, Google, the YouTube, and all that kind of stuff. They've given us apps for all these things on the iPad, so you can actually use those for your distance learning and things like that. And for us more professional users who's working from home, Zoom meetings, there, Skype for business, like I said, Zoom and things like that. Once again, there are power level apps that are fully functional on the iPad that allow you to be in those meetings and so forth with your team and without kind of missing a beat with them. So for those users, I actually, and a lot of times, especially people who aren't really tech savvy, I kind of recommend the iPad Pro in particular for those users for replacing your next laptop or desktop computer. So that's this week's video. I do hope you enjoyed this video. This is actually my first video for this channel, Ceddy Knows Tech, so I do hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, please support the channel by subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button for the video, and hitting the bell icon so you'll know when I push more content to this channel. A little bit about my channel. It will be a channel where we will talk about all things technology, gaming, product reviews, and things of that nature from various kind of aspects and various point of views. I just noticed that, there weren't a lot of channels out there that kind of, made content for me, a more technical person, particular developer and things of that nature. So this is what this channel will be all about. And if you like that kind of content and want that kind of content, again, thank you for beginning this journey with me. You've been watching Ceddy Knows Tech. My name is Ceddy, and until next time, stay geeky, stay techy.